What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of NFL picks. Week 17. Christmas Day was yesterday. Hope everyone had an enjoyable Christmas. Spend time with family. It's really that's what the holiday season's all about, man. Spending time with family, watching football. And now, this weekend, and you're looking at it, next Monday is New Year's Day. We are at the end of 2023, getting ready to welcome in 2024 here in just a few short days. But before that, we have one more Sunday of NFL football here in 2023, Week 17, and a lot of playoff, and I mean a lot of playoff implications lying on a lot of these games here in these final 2 weeks. So you got some good matchups here, matchups with playoff implications. Let's get right into it. Last week I went 9-7. Really, the Sunday night and the Christmas games, I really did me in and kind of hit me a little bit. I think I had a lot of people definitely there being some upsets or some games going with how in the opposite way of how the general public picked. Overall record 146-94. Lock of the week 11-5. Upset of the week 6-10. So getting right into it, Thursday night football, last Thursday night game of the year. The New York Jets. It's been a disappointing season. No Aaron Rodgers, but they are looking to finish off strong heading into next year. They go into Cleveland, the dog pound, and the Browns with Joe Flacco are looking to clinch the first playoff berth. Well, it would be the first playoff berth. It would be only their second playoff berth in like nearly 30 years. Obviously, they clinched one in 2020. And what they've been doing with Joe Flacco the past few weeks, Amari Cooper, it's been remarkable. Another story to go along with this crazy NFL season here. So the Jets looking to play spoiler here. Cleveland clinches a playoff berth with a win. I'm going to go ahead. I picked the Browns here. I feel like it's just they're going to go ahead, take care of business. I do think it'll be a close game. Probably will be your typical Thursday night football game. Pretty boring for the most part. But I would anticipate that Cleveland picks up the win here, clinches that playoff berth, dealing the Jets. They're how many double digits losing seasons would this be in a row? Because they lost 10 games last year. I don't know how many. I really couldn't tell you. But, yeah, been another disappointing season for the Jets. Browns, got to give credit to Kevin Stefanski, man. All he's done, with all those quarterbacks that he's had to go through, having to bring Joe Flacco off the couch. And Joe Flacco's doing this. Great story in Cleveland. They clinch a playoff berth on Thursday, I think. Saturday, you have a Saturday night game. No Monday night game this week because Monday night you have the college football playoffs. But Saturday, man, on ESPN, Saturday, just a Monday night football special on Saturday. Detroit clinched the first division title in over 30 years on this past Sunday, Christmas Eve. Dallas coming off a tough loss versus Miami, back at home in Jerry World where they don't lose. They don't lose often. I don't think they've lost there since week 1 of last year. They haven't lost a home game this year. So, yeah, I think I think on paper you would say tough game. Maybe these two teams could meet again in the playoffs, but two teams, they will be in the playoffs coming out the NFC. But it's in Jerry World. And this just, honestly, it just feels like a game that the Cowboys are going to come out and probably dominate pretty well. I think the offense probably has a big day. Obviously, Detroit, they're very high on, after clinching that division title. But you're having to go into Dallas. You still got to play 2 more games before you get to the playoffs. You got to play Dallas, go into Jerry World. That's going to be a tough deal for anybody. So I'm going to go ahead with the Cowboys here. Moving into Sunday, AFC South battle. The Tennessee Titans, they are the outlier. They're the team looking to play spoiler these past final 2 weeks of the season. They go to Houston, play the Texans. They are one of the three teams, along with Indianapolis and Jacksonville, gridlocked in a three-way tie for that division. That's going to come down to the final 2 weeks. And this feels like a close game. It does. It feels like a close game. I mean, I would assume C.J. Stroud has to be back this week. That you can't hold him out anymore. I'd assume he's going to clear concussion protocol, and you're going to get him back this week. But it will be a close game. It's always a close game between the Titans and Texans. But it's in Houston. I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Texans here. They're going to keep tracking that division race. That division probably comes down to the final week of the season, perhaps, most likely. But, maybe Houston can get some stuff to fall in their way and makes it easier for them the final week. So, yeah, but I'm going to go ahead, give this one to the Texans here. Next game. Obviously, with every Falcons game, you know how we do it. Talk more about it on Thursday, but the Falcons, I mean, they very slim chances at the division title, very slim chance at a wild card, but still mathematically alive. Going into Chicago to face the Bears on New Year's Eve. I don't think it's going to snow, but that could always change with it being in Chicago. It's been a tough season, man. It really has. It's been a disappointing season. We got a big win versus the Colts on Sunday, but then that's a game where it's why couldn't you have been doing this all season? That's when you see a game go like that. That's, I think, one of the big things you think. And the Bears, they've had a really nice past few weeks. They started off very slow. Matt Eberflus was literally on the edge of getting fired, and now it looks like he might be able to save his job another year. Arthur Smith. Yeah. We'll still have to talk a lot about that. But going into Chicago, it feels like this is going to be a game that the Falcons are probably going to come out pretty sluggish in. The Bears, I mean, I do think the Falcons stay in this most of the game. It's just we're not going to be able to really get anything going. And at the end of the day, the Bears come out, pick up the win here, getting their 7th win of the year. Falcons probably could be on their way to 3 straight 7-10 seasons. I don't know. Got the game in versus the Saints next week. But obviously, I'll talk more about it on Thursday. I think is when I'm going to do the preview video. But, yeah, so going to go ahead and pick the Bears here. All right, this is on paper, this is the most important game of the week. Game that most likely determines the number 1 seed in the AFC. Baltimore gets it, wraps it up if they win here. Miami, if they win here, they take control of it. All they need is a win next week, and they'll be the number 1 seed. Baltimore, they proved why they're the best team in football last night, what they did to that 49ers offense. It was a complete team win for them. Miami, they got a big win versus Dallas. Finally got that impressive win on the season. So they're looking to go up to Baltimore and wrap up that number 1 seed. But to be honest, it's just so hard to see that actually happening. So I'm going to go ahead, give it to the Ravens here. It feels like they're going to come out. That defense is probably going to be another big story in this game. I would probably anticipate that Miami is going to have some trouble getting that offense going. It's in Baltimore. The offense is riding off momentum. Lamar, I mean, he could have very well solidified a case for a second MVP last night in Santa Clara. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Ravens wrap up that 1 seed here this weekend, get the win over the Dolphins. Next game, Buccaneers with a win. I did not think I would be saying this before the start of week 1. Can wrap up their 3rd straight NFC South title with a win. Did not think I would be saying that. So any hope the Falcons do have here, we would need the team listed on the left, the team in gold, to score more points, but more points than the Buccaneers on Sunday. But is that going to happen? No, I don't think so. I think the Bucs wrap up the NFC South here. The Falcons did it to themselves, man. I'm going to continue to say it. We did it to ourselves. We lost to Josh Dobbs, lost to Kyler Murray first game back in the year. And we had an opportunity to really stop Tampa Bay before they really got. You honestly have to look at it and say when Tampa Bay came here into the Benz and won, that is when they gained that momentum. It's when they took the NFC South and they didn't look back. And we had a big opportunity to win that game. We should not have lost to a 1-12 at the time Panthers team. So we did it to ourselves, man. The Bucs are the best team in the division this year. I think that offense is going to be going again. Baker, you got to give him credit. He's had an amazing bounce back here. I'd probably anticipate. I think Mike Evans can actually go off in this game. So I'm going to go ahead, say the Bucs win, wrap up the NFC South here. Next game, Buffalo, maybe outright behind Baltimore, even though, no, they're not, seating or standing wise, it's not shown. They've been playing some of the best football in the AFC here these past 3-4 weeks. So they have New England coming in. Big opportunity for them. They have to keep momentum. New England has been playing spoiler these past few weeks. They did it to Denver a week ago in Denver. Got that big win, pretty much knocking the Broncos out of it in terms of chances to make the playoffs. And they actually beat Buffalo earlier in the season. But I got to be honest, I think Buffalo comes out. I don't see them losing this game. I really don't. I think they're going to continue to keep it going with that running game. That's how they're winning. And that's a formula to win with in January. Playing respectable defense. I'm going to go ahead. I think this is going to be my lock of the week. I just don't see the Bills losing this game. It's really hard to see them losing this type of game. So I'm going to go ahead. Say the Bills get the win here. Patriots drop their 12th game of the year. Next game here, you have Arizona. Obviously, it's been another team. It's been a tough season for Philadelphia. They're looking to keep it rolling going into the playoffs, looking to wrap up that NFC. I think they'd actually become the first winner of the NFC East to go back-to-back in like 20 years in terms of winning the division in back-to-back years. So they are definitely looking to take a step closer to wrapping up that NFC East this Sunday. And I just, there's no way I think they lose to Arizona here. I think they go in and give a good fight, but probably not. I just think overall they're the better team. Cardinals are getting ready to get on a flight to Cancun after these last 2 weeks. They got a lot of questions this whole season where they'll go in the draft. But, hey, Philadelphia keeps it rolling as they go into the playoffs, get the big win here. Next game, Jacksonville has been really faltering as of lately. They've lost 4 straight games. They have a Carolina team coming in that, yes, they're 2-13, but man, they have looked a whole lot better these past few weeks. They really have. They honestly could have won that game versus the Packers on Sunday, and Jacksonville hasn't looked good. So I could see them, Carolina, being in this game for a little bit. I really could. But to me, it just feels like it feels like Jacksonville, they're going to get the right team to get right against. They don't have the toughest 2-game stretch left, final 2 games. I think if there's any team Jacksonville would want to face, it would probably be a team like Carolina. And they will get back on track. I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence, he's been beaten up from the start, but you got to assume the Jaguars bounce back here. You really do. So I'm going to go ahead, give it to Jacksonville here, keeping track atop the AFC South, getting their 9th win of the year. Next game, talk about another game one of those AFC South teams, the Colts, lost last week here in Atlanta. They go back home. They're looking to keep tracking that division race. The Raiders, man, talk about the job Antonio Pierce has done. He should be the next head coach. There is no denying it. He should be the next head coach of that team. He has that locker room believing they would run through a wall through him. They actually haven't been eliminated from playoff contention yet. And it's going to be a tough game, man, but it feels like a game the Colts are going to win. They're keeping track in that division race, even though the Raiders are riding with a lot of momentum. This is one that I could definitely be wrong on. One of those games you look at, it was pretty tough to pick, but I'm going to go ahead, give it to the Colts here. Going to be a pretty close game, but the AFC South really heating up for the final week of the year in that division race. So I'm going to go ahead, give it to the Colts, man. Another game with some playoff implications for the LA Rams. They have been, maybe if you're talking about the NFC side, they've been playing some of their best football these past few weeks, ever since week 12, week 11, week 12. Whenever they face Seattle, they've only lost one game, and that was in Baltimore. They're playing some really good football right now. They look to be on their way to a playoff berth after missing it last year. They won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They look to be getting back into the playoffs, man. But the Giants are trying to play spoiler, but I think you got to go with the Rams here, just because it's going to be very hard for a Giants team to stop that momentum that the Rams are riding off of. Matthew Stafford is maybe playing some of the best ball of his career. Puka Nacua, amazing rookie receiver. Cooper Kupp is back in there. The defense is playing respectable. Even though it is shaky, that is the one thing about that Rams team. That defense is pretty shaky, but the offense has been on fire for the most part the past few weeks. Tyrod Williams, the running back. So got to go ahead, give it to the Rams here. And the 49ers, it was a very tough night last night for them, losing to the Ravens. They could have had an opportunity if they won that game to wrap up the number one seed in the NFC here. They will now have to wait until, obviously, they could still get it this weekend, but they'd have to have a lot of chips to fall their way for it to happen. So I'm going to go ahead, but I think one way or another, you got to go ahead, give it to the Niners here. It's just Washington is an absolute mess. Ron Rivera is going to be gone. Bieniemy probably will take over, but even at that, I mean, who knows? Sam Howell was benched. I think that's a team that they might just want to forfeit those final two games. So, gonna go ahead and give it to the Niners here. They will still stay atop the NFC, bounce back from that tough loss. Heading into the 405 window, you have Pittsburgh going to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Two teams looking to stay alive. Seattle is in the NFC wildcard race right now. They are in playoff position. Pittsburgh is looking to keep their season alive. And Mike Tomlin's consecutive non-losing season streak alive. They're looking to get another 9-win season in Pittsburgh, man. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to say this is my upset of the week. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Steelers here. It just, to me, it feels like Tomlin, they're going to go ahead, get that winning season. Obviously, they still have another opportunity to do it. I think they face Baltimore the final week of the year. If they're resting their starters, that can definitely be a benefit for their case to get that one seed. But, man, it feels like Seattle, I mean, definitely could win this game, but it feels like Pittsburgh, especially if they ride with Rudolph, that offense caught a lot of fire last week. And if they can keep that momentum going and that Pittsburgh offense can be like what we saw last week, I don't know, man. I'm just going to go ahead, pick Pittsburgh here for the upset. It just feels like they're going to go. I mean, Seattle, they had a tough going in Tennessee, which that Titans team, a Mike Vrabel-led team, that's always going to be tough to face. But they didn't look as good. They were trailing for most of that game. So obviously going into Seattle is going to be tough. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Pittsburgh here to pull off the upset. 425 window, Kansas City. I mean, they have been down bad these past few weeks. Cincinnati's looking to stay in that playoff mix in the AFC, looking to keep their season alive. Man, it's been tough for the Chiefs, though. But, I mean, you would have to, I think, think here that the Chiefs, they do win this game, and I think they will. I do think they're finally going to get back on track. Mahomes, Reed, Travis Kelce, I think we all know that he's pretty much out of it because of who, but I'm going to go ahead, pick the Chiefs here. I think you're actually in store for a pretty good game here. I really do. I think you're in store for a good game here. Chiefs hold on to win, clinch that AFC West. If they don't win it this week, man, I don't know. That final week of the season, anything can happen. So they better go ahead, lock it up right here, man. So I'm going to go ahead, pick Kansas City here. Mahomes gets that offense back on track just enough to win here. And then another AFC West battle here between two teams pretty much out of it. Chargers are out of it. Broncos, their season is hanging on by a thread. In Mile High, though, I mean, you got to go ahead. I think you got to pick the Broncos. It's just the Chargers. They did show good fight last week versus Buffalo. They did, but at the same time, it's just their season's a lost cause. Denver's going to look to hang on by a thread heading into Week 18. I don't know how they would face elimination this week, but I'm going to go ahead, pick the Broncos here. They are the home team, so got to go ahead, pick the Broncos. And then Sunday Night Football, as the final hours of 2023 wind down. Heck, maybe this game goes into the new year. If it goes into overtime, Green Bay and Minnesota, this is pretty much a battle of staying alive in the NFC playoff mix. I mean, I think if either team loses, that's pretty much it. It is in US Bank in Minneapolis. It's going to be a tough atmosphere to go into. So I think you got to go ahead. You got to pick the Vikings here. It's going to be a tough one, man, though. It really is going to be gridlock. Two teams looking to keep their season alive. I don't know the last time the Vikings swept the Packers, though. I would have to look that up. But one way or another, man, I think the Vikings, I think they get a sweep over the Packers, and I think they stay alive heading into that final week. But with that being said, Week 17, we only have one more week left to go. I will be doing a playoff predictions. Only one, though. I don't plan on doing it week by week, but before the playoffs begin, before that first Saturday batch of wildcard games, I will put out my complete playoff predictions, how I think the entire bracket's going to turn out, who I think's winning the Super Bowl, how I think all that goes. With that being said, man, it's been fun doing this season. Still got a couple more of these. Still got Week 18. Still got the playoff pick'em tournament or prediction video, I guess. How whatever you want to call it. With that being said, man, see you guys in the next one.